Hello. Today we're going to look at the Ten Commandments being put into schools in Louisiana under a new law there that totally obliterates separation of church and state. Not sure why they are having such a hard time understanding why that goes against the separation of church and state, but they're having a hard time with it. We're going to start by looking at an interview that CNN's Boris Sanchez did with State Rep Lauren Ventrella, who co sponsored the bill.
Joining me now to discuss is one of the co-authors of House Bill 71, Louisiana State Representative Lauren Ventrella. State Representative, thank you so much for being with us to share your perspective.
There's not any penalty under the law. It's just a requirement that the classrooms should post what we know and believe is the moral fabric, the moral fiber of our country that should be on public display, that the school children should have the opportunity to read and be exposed to.
I could go off on a tangent right here because, with all the things that conservatives insist should be taught in the home and not school, religion isn't one of them. That's so weird.
So when you talk about the moral fiber of our country, you realize that this country is an amalgamation of cultures, right, and different faiths. And even within Christianity, people don't interpret those commandments the same way.
Well, what's important about this bill and what's important to remember about this country is that whether we like it or not, Moses is in the Supreme Court of the United States. The Ten Commandments are in the Supreme Court of the United States. Moses is on the law in Congress.
Now, I think that's a bit of a stretch, and we'll look at that when we look at the Ten Commandments they're using.
This is part and ingrained in our nation. This is a historical document that's important in Louisiana because in Louisiana, we believe in faith, family, and freedom. And that is why I voted in favor of this bill.
Now, I'd argue they don't believe in any of that. They don't believe in any faith but their specific faith. Nobody else is allowed to have their own faith in Louisiana. They certainly don't believe in family. They took away all family planning in Louisiana. And freedom, what? This law is just another way they are taking freedom away from the citizens and establishing what they believe in as Christian nationalists there.
Sure, but you also recognize that the Constitution of this country, its founding document, doesn't include the word God or Jesus or Christianity, and that's for a reason, because the founding fathers founded this country as a secular one.
Let me finish my statement. And your
Answer the
wallet, I bet you
question
got
and
a
don't
dollar.
make this about me.
In God we trust. Well, make it about me. I got a dollar bill in my wallet. In God we trust is written on that dollar. It is not forcing anybody to believe one viewpoint. It's merely posting a historical reference on the wall for students to read and interpret it if they choose.
Sorry, I cut out a bit there where she started going in on the reporter about his salary and stuff because she really had no answer to what he was saying. But what she just said about it's just being put on the wall for students to read it if they choose. How about read it if they're able to? How about you spend this time and effort on improving the educational system in your state? Because as far as I'm aware, you're down near 50th place somewhere. The schools really are not good in Louisiana along with a lot of other things. And yet, this is how the politicians choose to spend their time by doing something clearly against the Constitution, something that is most likely going to be taken down. But they spent their time and money on doing this legislation instead of something that would actually help their citizens. And she really just said that in her sarcastic way. It's to put on the wall for students to read if they choose. So I'm still not understanding what the point is, except to throw their particular sect of Christianity in everybody else's face.
But fundamentally, you understand that there's a separation between church and state, and that if you're a student at a school, say you're Muslim or Hindu or atheist, having that on the wall, doesn't that endorse a specific set of beliefs?
Absolutely not. It is a historical document. Again,
But
And again, another lie. There are many, many historical documents older than the Ten Commandments uh, that have been researched better than the Ten Commandments and from other religious texts. So again, throwing in this historical document nonsense really means nothing.
But
then
there are
laws in
historical
this nation.
documents. There are historical documents that actually this law authorizes to be displayed in classrooms, like the Mayflower Compact, the Declaration of Independence, and others. But this one is specifically religious, and there's a difference there. I mean, that seems pretty clear that there's a difference between a random historical document and one that endorses a very specific view of a very specific denomination within a religion.
And that's what it is, very specific. They chose a very specific version of the Ten Commandments.
I don't agree with you that this is a random historical document. This is
I
a
didn't say it
very
was
purpose
random, but there are
valuable. This
others
is a
there.
very
Go ahead.
this is a very valuable document. Look, this nation has gotten out of hand with crime, with the bad negative things that are going on. Why is it so preposterous that we would want our students to have the option to have some good principles instilled in them? If they
But
don't hear it at home, let
I,
them read it in the classroom.
And again, to me, this is totally invalidated by the fact that other things that could benefit the children in their state, they specifically said can't be talked about in schools, like contraceptives, like sex ed. How about balance in a checkbook? Because all that can be taught at home.
It's
I,
no
I
different
didn't.
than the Mayflower Compact, which is mentioned in the document as well. I don't understand why this is so preposterous and that litigation is being threatened. It doesn't scare us in the state of Louisiana. We say bring it on.
And that's probably true. What the conservatives have been doing lately with things like this is they've been taking a test case, they've been letting people take it to court, citizens, the ACLU, the Department of Justice. They've been letting it get thrown out so that they can look at what the arguments are and then try it again somewhere else tr- with trying to follow what the judge's decision was and what they said within that decision. And this is how they have been honing things down to eventually get them to be able to go through. So it's a ploy. They know this is going to be struck. They're using it to move it all throughout the country.
Because if someone has a home in which they choose to believe something different, which is welcome in this country, it's literally why people fled to come here to found this country to begin with, then they should be allowed to. And it's not really an option if you're requiring it to be put up in the wall of the classroom. What do you say to the parents of students or even teachers who don't share your religious views?
I don't look at it.
And I'm gonna stop it right there. We'll end it here. I'm not gonna finish the interview because with that attitude, I mean, come on. It's Pride Month. How many times have the conservatives been told, don't look at it if the pride flag upsets you? Don't look at it if a rainbow on a shirt upsets you. And they just cry and scream and throw tantrums about it. But then she's gonna use that tone of voice and that facial expression and say, "Don't look at it," when it's something she endorses. It's just crazy. Anyway, let's take a look at the version of the Ten Commandments that they're using. Okay, so here's the House bill. requires the display of the Ten Commandments in schools. The text shall read as follows. Now remember, this is where she was also saying that Moses is in the judiciary. So, number one, I am the Lord thy God. That's not in court anywhere. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, also not in court anywhere. This one I think is absolutely hilarious that they use this version in today's day and age. Thou shalt not make to thyself any graven images. As we are online and we just watched a video off of YouTube of people's graven images all over the place. Weird. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Again, I don't know where that is in the judiciary. Do you get contempt for saying, oh God, or Jesus, or whatever? Uh, are the kids going to get in trouble for saying it in school? How does this belong in school? This one also is pretty funny. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Do they still have blue laws in Louisiana? Are they open on the Sabbath? Like, are businesses open on the Sabbath? Can you go shopping? Can you go out to eat? Things like that. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Okay, so honor thy mother and thy father. That I get that. I get that. What's the rest of that? Thou shalt not kill, except I'm gonna bet Louisiana has stand your ground laws, which people have been using to kill pizza delivery drivers that come to the wrong door and Uber drivers and stuff like that left and right because, they look scary and I have the right to kill them under stand my ground. But yeah, we're gonna put this in the schools. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Are they going to be able to explain what adultery is to the elementary and junior school kids since they're not supposed to talk about anything that has to do with sex or genders or anything like that in their schools there? Thou shalt not steal. I would think this could probably be taught on its own. This one is also funny. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, as they trash people of other faiths left and right. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his cattle, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. I again am not quite sure why they use this version. That's an awful lot for a young child to take in. I'm also going to guess not a lot of kids in Louisiana have any idea what a manservant or a maidservant is, since their economy is way, way down the ladder of the state's economies. Louisiana's at the bottom for pretty much everything. Uh, but also, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. How are they going to address that with children when they're not supposed to be talking about this stuff in school? So yeah, this is the version that they're using because they chose it from their very particular Protestant sect. It's odd. It's very odd. Well, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you the next time.